story appears ordinary until you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
A very good evening to you and welcome to CoreTV Primetime News. I am Nina Oragwa. And our top stories tonight. Tonight, our first story, the federal government says it is studying the budget details transmitted to it by the National Assembly. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, disclosed this after a Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. State House correspondent Abiola Oluwole reports at the council chambers was filled with ministers waiting for the commencement of the emergency Federal Executive meeting summoned by the presidency.
The council chambers was filled with ministers waiting for the commencement of the emergency Federal Executive Council meeting summoned by the presidency. The arrival of Vice President Yemi Osinbajo kick-started the deliberations. After 2 hours of meeting, the Minister of Information and Culture came out to address the press. Expectedly, issues surrounding the 2016 appropriation bill was a major subject discussed at the meeting. The minister says the federal government is studying the details of the budget.
An extraordinary meeting of the Federal Reserve Council was called this morning to avail every minister to look at the details of the budget and see how it affects his or her ministry.
The budget has been a subject of controversy since it was presented by President Muhammadu Buhari to the joint session of the National Assembly late last year. From the presidential villa in Abuja, Abiola Oluwole reporting for CoreTV News.
The Senate and the House of Representatives committees and NDDC are poised to ensure that the Niger Delta Development Commission gets the 3% remittance from oil companies operating in the Niger Delta. Speaking at a joint section of the committees, the acting managing director of the NDDC, Ibim Seminitari, accused the oil companies of not remitting the statutory 3% due to the commission. National Assembly correspondent Emmanuel Ehijene files in his reports.
The management of the NDDC team, led by its acting director general and the major oil players like Ajib, Exxon, Saplat, Total, Shell, among others, are being called before the committees to get a true picture of non-remittance to the NDDC. The acting director general says that oil companies are just paying whatever they like to the commission from inception, and it is hampering development in the region.
Specifically for Ajib and Natural Resources, we received 185,466,100, and for Ajib Exploration Company we received 976,074,800.
Representatives of the oil majors are however quick to debunk this claim, saying that they have been meeting up with the payments, though defaulted on a few occasions due to circumstances beyond their control.
We've got a huge receivable. It's one of the payments that Seplat is a JV with government. Government contributes 55%, we contribute 45%. And these payments are part of the receivables we're expecting from MPDC.
Lawmakers are asking the oil companies to obey the law by ensuring that they pay accurate monies due to the agency so as to help solve the environmental and social challenges in the Niger Delta.
To disobey the law of the land for 6 years is not something anybody can take for kindly. Please, 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 madam, we have respect for you. We want you to go and sit with them and make some payment to the commission as quickly as possible.
The communities are asking Seplat and other oil majors to liaise with the NDDC to discuss and iron out their differences before their next meeting with the committee, which will be communicated to them.
The Akwa Ibom State Governor Udom Emmanuel says his administration will give maximum support to interested foreign investors to ensure the safety of the investment in the state. Governor Emmanuel gave the assurance when the Consul General of the United States of America visited him at the government house in New York, describing the state as a virgin land blessed with abundant human and natural resources yet to be harnessed. Governor Emmanuel notes that aside from the abundant oil and gas reserves, the agricultural sector presents great opportunities for profitable investment in the state. He says the administration is founded on accountability and transparency in line with global best practices. The Consul General of the United States of America, John Bray, says his team's visit is aimed at identifying investment opportunities available in the state with a view to furthering the age-long collaboration existing between Nigeria and his country.
The Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Kayode Fayemi, says his ministry will collaborate with the Ministry of Interior to provide security around the mining sites in the country. The action, he says, is necessary to safeguard.
We'll sincerely apologize for that mix-up there. We now move on to Delta State, where government has signed a memorandum of understanding with an American company, Alpha Energy and Electric Incorporation, for generation of 500 megawatts of electricity through public-private partnership. Speaking during the signing ceremony in Asaba, Governor Ifeanyi Okowa said the development of the independent power plant would help boost the energy capacity of the state. He points out that this would help the state to meet the power needs of investors and businesses, disclosing that power remains a prerequisite for investment and for industries to thrive in the country. The governor urged the company to commence work as soon as possible and gave them the assurance of government support and the necessary investment-friendly environment to enable the PPP project succeed. The Kwara State Commandant of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, Augustine Obiekwe, has inaugurated a 100 personnel unit of the state to safeguard the mining sites in the state and urges the newly inaugurated Solid Minerals Defenders Unit to put in their best the national assignment. This follows a call made by the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Kayode Fayemi, during his visit to Kwara State, where he hinted on the plans of the federal government to deploy 3,000 personnel of the NSCDC across the mining sites in the country to curb illegal mining operations. Our correspondent tells us more in this report.
Collaborate with the Ministry of Interior to provide security around the mining sites in the country. The action, he says, is necessary to safeguard the solid minerals across the different locations in the state.
The intention here is not to criminalize artisanal miners. It is to ensure that they are brought into the formal space of mining. They are offered the necessary support. They are enumerated.
In fulfillment of that collaboration, the Kwara State Command of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps has trained 100 of its personnel for the national assignment. While inaugurating the special unit called Solid Minerals Defenders Unit, the State Commandant of the NSCDC says the Memorandum of Understanding signed between the two ministries of Solid Minerals and Interior informed the establishment of the unit, charging the men to be dedicated in guarding the solid mineral sites in the state.
Federal government to look into generation of alternative revenue sources besides oil. It becomes pertinent to reevaluate, reinvigorate, and monitor the solid minerals development in the country.
While reestablishing the activities of Geoscience and Mining Society, The state chairman of the Geoscience and Mining Society reiterates the effort of the society to keep Nigeria safe and diversify the economy, saying that the formation of these defenders comes at a right time when Nigeria needs to monitor what it has.
We are all aware that we are running a mono economy in this country, and solid mineral development is one of the sectors we are looking into to change us from a monolithic economy to a multi-economy.
The federal government is expected to expedite action and the weeding out of illegal miners in the country to ensure that proceeds from the mineral resources do not end up in wrong hands.
In search of the best ways of developing in-house capacity to confront the current security challenges facing the nation, the Nigerian Air Force is holding a reunion of 7 retired officers in order to brainstorm on core professional challenges. The Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, made this known while rolling out the activities lined up for the 52nd anniversary of the Nigerian Air Force. Kikelomo Kerry completes the story.
In the area of human capacity development, the Chief of Air Staff says the Air Force has imbibed a robust policy that emphasizes the development of capacity of the personnel to carry out their responsibility effectively, adding that the reunion is a platform to review tactics, techniques and procedure aimed at confronting prevailing and emerging security challenges in the country.
Lessons drawn from this reunion is desired to form the basis for the review of our tactics, techniques and procedures in the way we confront prevailing and emerging security challenges of the 21st century.
He further explained that the 52nd anniversary is to appraise the personnel of the Air Force and make amends when necessary.
In addition to carrying out activities to fulfill these responsibilities, the Nigerian Air Force has over the years offered aid to civil authorities while maintaining its ability to project air power when called upon to do so.
The Nigerian Air Force reunion is also to ensure versatile mobility as well as support the ground troops for territorial integrity. From Nigerian Air Force Conference Center, Kikelomo Okere, CoreTV News, Abuja.
In another development, the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, has assured Nigerians of adequate security in all parts of the country. Addressing newsmen in Abuja, the Air Marshal points out that more members of the Boko Haram sect are already laying down their arms. He attributes the success in the war against the insurgents to the commitment of the nation's armed forces. The Air Marshal further discloses that the Nigerian Air Force is improving on its research development, which is targeted at reducing imports of some of its aircraft components.
The Director of Naval Information says the boats are placed in the strategic areas of the rivers and creeks in the Niger Delta.
They apologize for that. The Nigerian Navy says it is commissioning 30 Apenial boats to patrol the creeks and hinterlands in the Niger Delta region of the country. The Director, Naval Information, Commodore Chris Ezekoba, made this known while on tour of duty to CoreTV News office in Abuja. The Director says the visit is in line with the plan of the Chief of the Naval Staff to join hands with the media in the fight against insurgency. Our correspondent, Kikelomo Kere, completes the story.
The Director of Naval Information says the boats are placed in the strategic areas of the rivers and creeks in the Niger Delta in order to ensure that pipeline vandals, crude oil thieves and illegal bunkers find it difficult to operate. The Nigerian Navy, according to him, is also enhancing its surveillance system with the Maritime Awareness Capability Center.
The Chief of the Naval Staff recently commissioned 30 penal boats made here in Nigeria. We're expecting 50 more by the end of May, all in a bid to saturate this environment and curb, the malfeasance that's taking place there.
The need to partner with the media is also paramount, as the Nigerian Navy believes that information dissemination is a key factor in helping to bring insurgency and other security threats to an end.
It's common knowledge that 70 to 80% of our national wealth derives from the maritime sector. So we need to, send the message out, and in so doing, we need to partner with the media, with other maritime security agencies, and indeed all stakeholders.
Appreciating the visit, Managing Director CoreTV News praised the effort of the Nigerian Navy particularly and the military in general for their effort at defending the country against forces capable of causing havoc.
CoreTV News has been in existence 2 years ago. We just grew in, and we're coming with a local content, and with the digitization coming up, we hope that we'll be able to give Nigerians and Africa, as the case may be, because our 10% local, spill over the shore of the continent.
The visit is expected to start off a long-lasting relationship between the Nigerian Navy and CoreTV. Kikelomo Okere, CoreTV News, Abuja.
We now move on to Lagos State, where students of the University of Lagos are demanding the Vice Chancellor of the institution, Ramon Adebelu, address them on or before Monday before they would start protesting. The students who have peacefully protested for 3 days for lack of basic social amenities say they have been providing for themselves alternative sources of water, which they claim the school authority blocked. Our correspondent Sarah Yeku has more in this report.
Chants of unionism, demand for water and electricity supply by the students of the University of Lagos, Akoka. 3 days of peaceful protest, and these students have been greeted with heavy security presence.
This morning when I was coming to school to come and attend to students, the police brutalized me. They took me to the police station. They collected my phone. I said I'm the student union president. If these students don't see me, they are going to protest again. The protest started because the police were beating students. The police threatened us. At gunpoint, they told the driver to get down, and they told that, it was very bad.
5 years into his tenure as Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos, Professor Ramon Adebelu has experienced not less than 2 protests. This protest for power supply and water is the longest the school has embarked on. The students are unsure of whose instructions to follow as the union leaders lock the gates, thereby evading the directives given by the school authority to vacate the premises.
There has been VCs and there has been students being in the school. They never agitated to this extent. His inability to come out and address the students is the cause of all this. And even him bringing in the police. We are not terrorists, right? We are students.
What this was is the wickedness of the highest order. Let him go. We don't want him. They want to go against us in the Senate. And that's why they passed the memorandum. Professor Bello told us that he was not around yesterday. Where did they sit to head that meeting that said we should go home this morning? Bello, we don't want him. He must go.
Meanwhile, students who were ready to follow the directive of the Unilag authority were seen jumping the fence to escape the tense school environment.
If you can see anyone of them to talk to.
After hours of waiting, after talks between some security operatives and student representatives, students came out en masse. Now they have to contend or walk a long distance to get a means of transportation.
We are going to demand that the government should intervene. We'll give the management till Monday. And if not, our generators, everything we need must be attended to, and our normal educational calendar must continue.
The once peaceful citadel is now being deserted by its inhabitants, while Aluta continues.
Peaceful protest is all they have done to ask from the school authorities social amenities that will enable them live in a conducive learning environment. However, efforts to speak with school authorities have proved abortive. From University of Lagos, Sarah Yeku reporting for CoreTV News.
You're still watching CoreTV Primetime News. We'll take a break now and return. More stories. Just stay with us.
VAT, Value Added Tax, is a tax paid on all goods and services and remitted by the seller of the goods or provider of the service to government. 5% VAT is added to the total cost of goods and services in Nigeria, and when remitted to government, is used for funding development. The VAT you pay will be used by government to develop our transport infrastructure, like roads and railway lines, to continually improve our educational sector by building more schools and upgrading existing ones, to provide adequate security and a better quality of life for us all. Pay your VAT. Make your contributions to the development of Nigeria. It pays to pay your tax. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service.
Glad to have you back. If you just joined us, it's still CoreTV Primetime News. A quick recap of our top stars. For these stories and more, you can join us on the social media platforms, facebook.com/CoreTV News, on Twitter at CoreTV News NG, and on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/CoreTV. Leave a space in news. Justice Okon Abang of a Federal High Court in Abuja is refusing to disqualify himself from presiding over the trial of the National Publicity Secretary, People's Democratic Party, Olisa Metu. The judge is, however, ordering Metu to open his defense on April 11 in ongoing trial for money laundering. Judiciary correspondent Basil Okafor reports that the court dismissed all applications filed by the PDP spokesman.
Justice Abang refused to disqualify himself in a ruling after counsels have argued in favor and against Metu's application, asking that the judge withdraws himself from the case. Justice Abang is saying that the PDP spokesman failed to address enough evidence to show that he is biased against him in the trial. He's also dismissing another application by Metu requesting for an indefinite adjournment pending when the Court of Appeal would hear and determine his appeal case against the court's ruling on his no-case submission and his motion for a stay of proceeding of his trial. Another lawyer, Tochukwu Umbofo, who took over the defense of Metu's company on Friday, is also making a series of oral applications for adjournment, which are all being dismissed by the court.
The Honorable Judge determined 3 applications. The first one was our application for him to disqualify himself. And after hearing arguments, he was of the belief that he was rightly imbued.
He briefed me to represent him and then to continue to handle this matter in place of the previous counsel. That does not mean the previous counsel are not doing well, but he prefers me to handle this matter. And it is within his constitutional right under Section 36 of the Constitution to brief a counsel of his own choice.
Justice Abang is insisting that he will not grant frivolous adjournments in line with the relevant sections of the New Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission is prosecuting Metu and his firm on 7 counts charge of money laundering.
The Crimes Commission EFCC to release the cousin of former President Goodluck Jonathan, Azibaola Robert. The Anti-Graft Commission had on March 23 arrested Robert for alleged diversion of $40 million through One Plus Holdings, a 6-tier company of Kakata Construction and Engineering Company Limited, meant for securing oil pipelines. Robert, through his lawyer Chris Uche, filed a lawsuit for the enforcement of his fundamental rights. Ruling on the application, Justice Goodluck Olasumbo held that Robert's detention by the EFCC for over 2 weeks was unconstitutional. The judge said the applicant had disclosed sufficient evidence before the court to warrant his release from detention. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Bello Mohammed, is calling on voters in the territory to conduct themselves peacefully before, during and after the cancelled elections in the FCT. Speaking at a town meeting with stakeholders about the forthcoming elections, the minister says security agents will not hesitate to deal with perceived troublemaker if caught. Our correspondent, Jamil Afegwa, brings us up to speed this report.
Peace is the watchword at the stakeholders meeting, where groups involved in the council polls have been getting together to resolve to eschew bitterness in the coming elections. Permanent Secretary in the territory is asking that all parties involved in the electoral process must show understanding with one another as they go to vote on Saturday.
You have all been invited here today as politicians, royal fathers, religious leaders, and gentlemen of the media, with other critical stakeholders, to rub minds together in order to ensure that the elections are conducted successfully in an atmosphere of peace and order.
Leaders of community in the territory are also averse to conflict during the elections, calling on INEC to ensure materials get to the election centers on time.
We want to appeal to the INEC Commissioner to ensure adequate supply of election materials at all 6 area councils are invaluable to avoid tension and confusion.
An all-inclusive meeting, religious leaders are adding their voices in the call for peace, but a stern warning is coming from the security agencies, who are saying that no troublemaker will be spared.
The election on Saturday must be peaceful. We must make it peaceful. I want to appeal to all the political gladiators here to please ensure that you don't send anybody to commit any act of thuggery.
Minister for the FCT, rounding up, asked that contestants be good winners and good losers, as elections are not a do-or-die affair.
You must bear in mind that election is not a do-or-die affair, but basically an opportunity to elect leaders of your choice, who will be the ones that will deliver for you the dividends of our hard-earned democracy.
Elections come every 3 years at the third tier of government. Residents of the FCT will be voting and hoping that some work will be done, especially in the suburb where majority of the population resides. Jamil Afegwa, CoreTV News, Abuja.
We now move on to the health sector, where the federal government has promised to look into grievances raised by resident doctors over their threat to embark on a nationwide strike. The Minister of Health, Isaac Adewale, has assured of government's determination to reach an amicable resolution with the doctors to vet the strike action. Resident doctors had in the course of the week issued a 21-day ultimatum to government to look into their plight and face an all-out strike.
The ministers says that the government will look into the demand of the resident doctor as soon as possible to stop the impending strike by the doctors. He says government will not relent in its efforts at making universal health coverage available to all Nigerians. Earlier in the week, the resident doctors had given a 21-day ultimatum to the federal government to meet up with its demand, which includes payment of some of their members' outstanding allowances.
That will no longer, for whatsoever reason, tolerate unfair treatment, sacking of our resident doctors, and with immediate effect, we demand the reversal of unfair sacking.
Nigeria Medical Association President disclosed that the members are seeking adequate remuneration for his members so as to ensure they don't embark on the strike action. He insists the doctors will reach a reasonable agreement with the government to prevent future occurrence.
It's not something anybody can immediately predict. But I want to tell you that the role of NMA is to try and prevent strike action. Not even in near future, throughout the future. And we believe that all stakeholders must now partner with NMA to make sure we don't have strike action.
Several lives have been lost as a result of the frequent doctor strike in the country. With this meeting between the NMA officials and the government, it is expected that the impending strike will be altered.
The federal government says it will assure Nigerians that it will maximize opportunities at the Kashmir-Bila Dam located in Taraba State with create and completion. Speaking during the tour of the dam, the Minister of Water Resources, Suleiman Adamu, says he is there to ascertain the level of completion as well as the socio-economic importance of the dam to Nigeria. Our correspondent, Udwak Godwin, completes the reports.
The Kashim-Bila Dam, located between the towns of Kashim-Bila and Kamobo on River Kastina-Ala in Takum local government area of Taraba State, is being constructed to check the traits of flooding from the structural weak volcanic Lake Yos located in the High Bamenda Plateau in Cameroon. The structural instability of the lake is of immense threat to Nigeria as a result of the constant erosion of the embankment and the increasing buildup of carbon dioxide gas from beneath the lake bed. This disaster, if not checked, will affect the states of Taraba, Benue, Cross River, Kogi, and Delta. The dam was initially to control excess water from Yos Dam in Cameroon. Is expanded to supply hydropower station, potable water, and irrigation farming. The work, which began in 2010, has been facing enormous challenges, but this time the federal and state governments are committed to completing the dam that will be of immense benefit to the state and country.
We have a water scheme attached to this project. We have irrigation scheme attached to this project. We have tourism potentials attached to this project. We have fishery attached to this project. And we're grateful also that we have an airport, and then with this project, which I intend to link it up to the Jalingo airport, have a linkage.
Hydropower was not there before. The landing strip was probably not there before. All these components were added. So what this says is, while I have no problem in principle with all the components, because there is a need to maximize the potentials of this project, it also tells a lot about our planning system.
The federal and state ministries of water resources are working together to achieve a collective goal for sustained water resource development.
Our major problem is unemployment, and the best way to handle employment is to create farming activities all over the country. These irrigation schemes should be implemented, and a number of people to be trained to teach people how to produce full commercial purposes.
I'm expecting that an expansion of the project should give us a transmission line of power to Katsina-Ala, to Tatoka, to Atipo, which are neighboring towns, so that we can have a balanced and complete development of the sector.
The water resources potential of the area is enormous, and its natural structural configuration is favorable for multipurpose development. Udwa Godwin, CoreTV News, Kashim-Bila.
In recent times, there have been various occurrences of artists losing their lives to one sickness or the other. And oftentimes, this gives the impression of lack of help for these celebrities, especially in their most vulnerable moments. At the wake and service of songs of Muyiwa Adeyemi Oshinuga, popularly known as No More Loss, musical icons and concerned Nigerians reiterate the importance of moral financial support from government and Nigerians. Our correspondent, Victoria Solomon, who was at the event, tells us more.
It seems to be a recurring experience in the past months as the film and music industry witnessed deaths of their colleagues. Another life has been lost as the music industry mourns another great musician. No More Loss, who was born in 1977, lost his life after a brief illness on March the 21st, 2016, leaving behind a wife and daughter. This recent loss brings to the fore the need to help these artists when they are in need. In view of this, No More Loss's manager says Nigerians do not believe when artists need help and support.
You'll agree with me that in Nigeria, once you are ill and you ask for help, it's like a stigma because they believe all artists are supposed to be rich. But you and I know that, look, They might be talented, they might be good, they might be, but how many of them are really wealthy?
An entertainer who was present at the service of songs, however, has a different view, saying that there is always help and there is togetherness in the industry.
No artist in Nigeria who has spoken out and said, oh, I have a problem and nobody has helped. That is one thing our system has done. We rally around each other. No matter what, there will always be that support in the industry. And basically, I hope and pray that people have the ability to help when they are called upon.
Meanwhile, some others believe the industry is not organized and there is lack of good social welfare in Nigeria.
Have a good social welfare system, and we only care about self. So people feel they go to a party, they go to a club, they listen to a good artist.
The music industry, we are not really organized. I'm sorry to say that, because if we are, we should be able to know and concern that something is happening to this guy.
With the painful demise of a young performer like No More Loss, it is hoped that Nigerians and major players in the entertainment industry will assist and render the needed support to artists before things become irreparable.
Still ahead on the foreign scene, Saudi Arabia and Egypt plan to build a bridge over the Red Sea. Bring details of this and more after this break. Please stay with us.
CoreTV News now live on all Androids.
Welcome to CoreTV Primetime News.
Download CoreTV News app from your Play Store. Click on the menu to see all our top stories from politics, sports, business, foreign news and live TV to watch us live on your mobile.
I want to know why I should be believing them.
You can also click on video to see all our YouTube videos. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
Glad to have you back on the foreign scene. Saudi Arabia's king has announced that a bridge linking the country to Egypt will be built over the Red Sea. King Salman, who made the announcement during the second day of his visit to the Egyptian capital, Cairo, says the bridge would boost commerce between the two allies. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi said the bridge will be named after the Saudi king. Further discloses that the historic step to connect the two continents, Africa and Asia, is a qualitative transformation that will increase trade between the two continents to unprecedented levels. Saudi Arabia and other Gulf countries have supported Egypt with billions of dollars since President Sisi took power in 2013 following mass street protests. Saudi Arabia regards Egypt as a crucial partner in efforts to build a bloc of friendly Sunni Muslim states as a bulwark against the growing regional influence of Shia-led Iran. The key remaining suspect in November's Paris terror attacks, Mohamed Abrini, has been arrested. Belgian media say Abrini is also likely to be the man in the heart seen on CCTV before the blast in the Brussels airport departure hall on March 22. Prosecutors confirmed that several arrests had been made in connection with the Brussels attacks. Although the Belgian federal prosecutor confirmed that there have been several arrests in the course of the day in connection with the attacks on the airport and metro, but gave no further details. Local media reports suggest that Abrini, on the run for 5 months, was arrested in the Anderlecht district of Brussels. Iraqi forces, backed by U.S.-led coalition airstrikes, have dislodged the Islamic State of Iraq, the Levant fighters, from the western town of Hit and evacuated thousands of civilians. Local commanders said the pro-government forces had routed ISIL from its stronghold in Hit, which had a pre-war population of nearly 100,000, but fighting was still going on. In a live broadcast, the commander said they're still pursuing the members of the sect, adding that they have abandoned their families and fled the Anbar province. The recapture of Hit, located on the Euphrates River near an Al-Assad air base, where several hundred American personnel are training Iraqi army troops, would roll back ISIL further west towards the Syrian border. Officials in the Iraqi military and the U.S.-led coalition fighting ISIL say by clearing the town they can build on recent territorial gains in the vast province. A second group of migrants has been sent back to Turkey from Greece as part of a controversial EU-Turkey deal aimed at curbing the refugee and migrant flow to Europe. The Greek state-run media disclosed that the ferry carrying 45 migrants from Pakistan left the Greek island of Lesbos after they were barged to Mytilene, the main port on the island. Before the boat departed from Lesbos, several rights activists plunged into the water close to the small ferry, dangling from the anchor chain in an attempt to prevent the vessel from leaving. They were, however, plucked from the water by the Greek Coast Guard, and the ferry eventually left port to transfer the Pakistanis to the Kili in Turkey. And finally, in sports, a federal high court sitting in Jos has granted the prayers of Yahaya Adama and Senator Obina Obata released the case which, among other things, is seeking to nullify the Warri General Assembly and the subsequent elective Congress that brought Amaju Pinnick as president, Nigeria Football Federation. Justice Musa Haruna Kuya, delivering his ruling and the matter, sustains all previous court orders, effectively making Ambassador Chris Giwa the head of the Federation until the final determination of the suit. Political correspondent filed this report from Jos, the Plateau State's capital.
It was a ruling, not a judgment. You will recall that on the 26th of August 2014, an election held into the board of the Nigerian Football Federation in Abuja, which produced the Ambassador Chris Giwa-led board of the NFF.
By this order, the Minister of Sports is now compelled to accept the Giwa-led board of the NFF as the recognized board by law. The order also bars anybody from interfering with the duties and functions of the NFF board under the leadership of Chris Giwa.
Now, in flagrant disregard to these orders, the then board of the NFF proceeded to conduct another election in Warri, which produced the Amaju Pinnick-led board, purportedly.
The court has effectively, by this ruling, set aside all the proceedings and decisions of the Warri Extraordinary Meeting of the 20th September 2014 and the Elective Congress of 30th September 2014, which saw Amaju Pinnick becoming president of the NFF. But the final decision will be taken by the Federation of International Football Association, FIFA.
And that's it on CoreTV Primetime News. But before we go, a quick recap of our top stories. Thank you very much for staying with us tonight. I am Nena Oragwa. Do have a beautiful night rest.